It's the best thing he's done in ages.
Yeah.
I think it's in literally years. Yeah, and that's not to disparage the other stuff, but no, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's quite new and unusual. I know that Brian thinks it's as in its own way groundbreaking as when he invented ambient music. So I think it's terrific. Well, it's like Chairman Mao said about the French Revolution, apparently. What do you think of the French Revolution? Chairman Mao is supposed to have said, well, it's too early to say. So we probably won't know for another 10 or 15 years. So, but I love the sound of it. I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't know Peter's stuff until this, and I'll check out that as well. So I'm still of the opinion he's the most important man in pop music in the last 20 or 30 years. I think Brian Eno invented everything. So.
Yeah, I know a few people would agree with that.
Well, I think it's exceptional actually. When I first heard it, it was interesting because I had the problem to get through that it was a record by Brian Eno, and that sense of someone having a past and the expectancy you have of it. At first you don't kind of listen to it properly. You're listening to a kind of addition to the Brian Eno catalogue, you know. And then I kind of listened to it again and again, and that faded a little bit, and you just start to respond to what I always respond to in Brian's music, which is just the beauty. And the meaning, you know, there's a depth to it that comes with time. So, you know, I've said to Brian, you know, there's sometimes he gets bored with being adored, but I have to say that, you know, I do adore this one as much as sometimes I'd like to give him a little bit of a pinprick.
What do you think about Peter's contribution?
Well, that was interesting because obviously there's certain things on the record that, even with Brian's reluctance to go to territory he's been to before, he's going back, but this time it was with a kind of rhythm. And I've always been surprised that with what happened with computer music, you know, and hip hop lately, that Brian hasn't ventured forth into that area of using the most imaginative rhythms that there are around now, that are based in jazz and black music. So it was kind of interesting to see that he started to absorb that into the stuff he does. So you've got the Eno float that we know very well, and the drift. But now you've got rhythm, and because it's rhythm from a drummer who's obviously trained and is a percussionist, it's a fascinating collaboration. Well, Brian's timing is fascinating because, again, he's one of the few artists at the moment that isn't worried about being slow. And in a way, his slowness is a form of speed anyway, because there's so much thought that's gone into it that even though it is superficially slow, the level of intellect that's in the music means that it's moving very quickly within it. So, you know, sometimes the beats are a long way apart, but they're very much there, and in your imagination, you know, it's just as sort of agitating as any kind of rhythm. So I kind of like that collaboration between what I call the float and now this rhythm. So he's done them in different areas, but kind of never together, you know.
I'm Andrew Harrison, I'm the editorial director of Key Magazine. Brian is exceedingly good value. I interviewed him once in Central Park, where he insisted on being interviewed in the zoo and in the cafe outside. And halfway through the interview, I was attempting to ask him that was some stupid question. He sort of put his finger in the air and said, "If you could be quiet a moment," because there were a lot of cabs in the streets outside that all sort of seized up at the same time, were all blaring their horns at the same time. And he then asked me, could he have a tape afterwards, because he thought he might be able to use it in a piece of music. I've still got the tape at home somewhere. I've never got around to sending it back to him, but you know, I thought that's the kind of brain that's always working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of,
Brian Eno fan. I think anyone that's grown up with music for the last 20, 30 years is bound to be a Brian Eno fan. From Scotland Roxy music right through into stuff like the one with David Byrne, obviously the one with U2 and James. He's pretty much done it all, really. And yeah, of course he's relevant. I mean, if you look at his book as well and his work with War Child as well and the influence he has there, he's kind of known for having a finger in every pie, but I think there's still a lot of the pies are all still fresh.